Welcome back to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast, man. We are so glad you joined us to hear our inspiring and fun conversation with today's guest. He's a TEDx speaker, a feedback coach, author of Lead to Keep, Lead in a Way That Makes Great People Stay, and a team whisperer. He's done over 120 epic bucket list items, and some of them are pretty ridiculous. I hope we get into some of those. And so today we're going to jump in the deep end of the pool with Jesse Martin, and he's going to help us clarify how do we create a bucket list and walk away with the mindset to actually live them. So get ready to turn your dreams into realities. Jesse Martin, dude, welcome to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast.
Thank you, Pat. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Good to see you again.
Yeah, man, this is going to be fun. Because when we met in person a few weeks back, I told you, man, I never really know where we're going to go with a conversation. It's just going to be real organic. I don't have a bunch of prepared questions. And then I jumped on LinkedIn a little while ago, and I go, dang, Jesse's doing a gig tomorrow on creating a bucket list and actually living it. And I'm thinking. And then I saw the little promo that, you know, you've had 120 great epic bucket list adventures. I think you put on there that you like face planted on a bunch of them. So let's get into one. Where did you come up with the concept of a bucket list? And then turn that into helping other people. And when we met, when you did I was at your live TEDx speech presentation. What's the rest of the story? What's the backstory of this bucket list idea?
Yeah, I had never heard the word bucket list. I had heard growing up with Colonel Sanders, hey, do this before you kick the bucket. I'd heard that phrase from kind of the KFC, small country town in Oklahoma. But what happened was the very first item that I wanted to do before, a big goal or accomplished was shown to me when I was 16 years old. My cross country coach brought in this is what's interesting. I was in Oklahoma, but he brought in a Pikes Peak marathoner who runs if you're familiar with Colorado and Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak Marathon, is the only marathon that does a 14er inside the 26.2 marathon. But it's actually longer than 26.2, but just a little bit. So some people call it an ultra. But anyway, our coach brought in a live speaker. This is back in the VHS tape days. And he played a tape of him doing the ascent, which is going 13 miles. They bring you down. Then the next day he did the marathon up and down. And this guy was from my hometown in Oklahoma. And so our cross country's coach is like, hey, you varsity runners, if you really want a challenge, this is the challenge. The Boston Marathon is most famous for being the fastest, but the toughest marathon in America is this marathon in Colorado. I had never been to Colorado. And so me and this kid named Joe Pat Bedford, we were like, dude, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. So that was it. It was a challenge from a coach. Hey, this is the hardest freaking marathon. Who's got the guts to do it? We're like, yeah, we'll do it. It takes me 10 years to get to that marathon, to accomplish it. But I eventually do that. But I started at 16 with okay, there's one. And then it just escalated from there. I started capturing and going after them.
Wow. And people that aren't familiar with Colorado, because Jesse and I both live in Colorado about half hour, 45 minutes from each other. And Pikes Peak at the summit is 14,210 feet. And so you're doing the marathon up and down. You run up and then you got to come down. And that elevation change is from, I think it's a little less than 8,000 feet up to 14. So you're going up 6,000 feet over a period of 13.1 miles. And then if you think it's like rough running downhill for a half a mile, try running back down 13.1. And I don't know when that guy did it, but at one point, I mean, back in the even in the 90s, I don't know when they paved it all the way up to the top, but it used to be gravel and dirt most of the way.
Yeah, the marathon is the trail. It's a T-bar trail to the trail. It's
Oh,
not the highway.
oh, you're not taking the road. You're
No,
running.
you're switchbacking. You're in the. It's not really a boulder field, but you're in the scree at the very.
Yeah.
You get above tree line. Yeah, you don't touch the road.
Oh, I thought it was because I did the incline, which was only like 2,000 feet in elevation, and it took me and walking, not running, and then it took me 45 minutes, and I did it before they fixed all the railroad ties and made it like actual steps that were measured away, and then I didn't realize it was a 3.1 mile trail down the bar trail to get down because you can't come down the steps.
You're not supposed to. Many people do it, but you're not supposed to do
Oh,
it.
and I'm telling you, my thighs burned and ached for days because I was 50, gosh, 56, 58 years old or something, maybe even 60.
That's
And
good. 45 minutes to get up there. That's good.
man, it was a killer. So, and I think I told you when we met that when I do these podcasts, I'm like the Irish setter that sees a squirrel run across the backyard, and I take off at it. And so when I'm doing these podcasts, I have squirrel moments, and so I had one as you were talking about the finally doing your that bucket list item. How many people in your world of coaching and mentoring and you're a business owner that accomplish things, and then if you compliment them on it, and cops are famous for this, is you'll have an award ceremony and you're getting the Medal of Valor because I mean you did something heroic, and just awesome, and the cop will go, man, I was just doing my job, and they don't give themselves that attaboy and enjoy that accomplishment. How do you see that? And then my question to you is, how do you celebrate achieving bucket list items? I mean, I know achieving the bucket list item in itself is kind of a celebration, but then it's like, no, no, no. What do you really do to go celebrate that, even if nobody else knows you accomplished some goal that you had?
Yeah, great question. I think for my son's in the military, I have family members in the military. I did not serve. I've never been a first responder, fireman, or a police officer. But I think typically the first responders in the military, they do it's my job, it's my duty, don't give much attention. But for the rest of us like me, who are kind of maybe more prideful, we're like, yeah, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to wear a t-shirt. I'm going to get a token. I'm going to speak about it. So for me, I mean, I literally turned it into a leadership value add. I was like, I'm not the smartest guy in the room all of the time when I go into rooms, but what could I do to add value? And I started taking this thing I do for fun, bucket list, since I've been 16, and put it into all of my leadership. Where I was in the nonprofit or the for-profit, I would go, hey, want to come do this with me? Have you ever wanted to do a 5K? Have you ever wanted to do a Tough Mudder? Have you ever wanted to hike the incline? Hey, come with me. So those of us that are not the first responders, I think we're more apt to brag about it or tell people about it. But I made it just, man, this is something I love to do for fun. What if I injected this in my leadership and said, so many people have wishes and they have hopes, but they never write it down and they don't execute. And typically what I find that can level them up faster is going with somebody. So if they're scared, I've taken over 10 guys on the incline who live here who've never done it. And they see it. It's huge. You can see it from far away, but it's intimidating. And I'll just say, hey, I'm a big guy. And sometimes they're bigger than me. They're smaller than me. They're not an athlete. I'll say, we'll go as slow as you want. we're going to do it, and you're not able to quit. But
Yeah.
I'll go at your pace. And when I get them to accomplish this, and it's at least 10 guys who've never done it before, the incredible, endorphins of success and achievement, it just hits them. And that just juices me up more to do it and to do it for others, to go, hey, it's not that hard. You're making it harder than it is. Let's sign up. Let's put one step in front of the other and then go with somebody. I'll be your cheerleader. And that's been really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Another squirrel moment. I really want people to understand it. It's not just the exotic bucket list kind of things. Like one of my bucket lists, which was exotic in a way, is my wife and I. Gosh, maybe 10 years ago. I don't know when the movie came out, but it was The Way with Martin Sheen.
Yes.
And
The
the Emilio Estevez, his son, wrote the story, was in it in the movie in the very beginning, and so the Camino Santiago, and it's a Catholic pilgrimage and all that kind of stuff. You do the whole thing; it's like 500 miles, and I'm like, nah, that's not on my bucket list. But I want to hike whatever amount of miles I got to do and end at the cathedral in Santiago to get the chip, or it's actually like a seashell, and you have a passport, but it's not a government passport, and you make stops along the way, and they stamp it for you. And then you present that passport at the end, and that's your proof that you actually walked. You have to hike the last 113 kilometers is the minimum you have to do. And we did about 125 kilometers.
Awesome.
And that was my bucket list. And to go to Spain, and we went to Madrid, all those kinds of things. Yeah, those are those big bucket list items, but your bucket list can be, hey, I had a kid, I was teaching at Offutt Air Force Base, and it's a joint base, so it was security forces, airmen, Air Force cops, but it's a joint base with the Navy, because it's a nuclear weapons kind of place, and so I had a bunch of master at arms. That's what they call cops in the Navy. Okay. And so at the end of the day, I was telling them, okay, get out a piece of paper and write down 3 goals you're going to achieve in the next 90 days. Not 90 days, in the next 6 months. And write it on a piece of paper, and then write down, what are you going to do to celebrate that achievement? And they're all kind of looking at me, and I'll go, I'll explain in a minute. But then the last thing I said is also write down, if your funeral was tomorrow, what do you want that one sentence people to say about you at your funeral? And write that down. And then put it in an envelope, address it to where you want it sent in 6 months, and seal it, pass it up. In 6 months, I'm going to put the postage on it, and mail it to you. So it's a kind of a reverse dear younger me, so it's a letter from you to you, and then they go, yeah, but what do you mean celebrate? And this 18, 19-year-old kid raises his hand. He goes, well, I'm running my first marathon in 2 weeks. Can I write that down? Or is that or I have to come up with 3 new things? Can that be one of them? I said, oh, absolutely. And I go, are you running it to finish in a certain amount of time, or are you running it to just run it and finish it? And he goes, that's my first one. I'm just going to run it. I want to finish it. I go, great. What are you going to do to celebrate that win? And he goes, I don't know what you mean by celebrate. I go, what are you going to do to pat yourself? Even if you're going to have buddies or whatever, but even if nobody knows what your goal was, that that psychological effect of telling yourself, hey, dude, well done. And celebrate. And I was teasing him. I go, how old are you? He goes, 19. I go, well, I was going to tell you, instead of drinking that crap, Coors Light, drink a real beer. Have a Guinness.
Yeah,
But I go, do something. Go out and splurge. With your girlfriend, or you're married, take your wife and go out and have a really nice dinner to celebrate, like you do your anniversary, like you do your birthday. Those are all milestones.
That's right.
And the psychological and physiological effect of celebration then gives you the confidence, hey, you know what? I'm going to set a new goal.
Yeah.
And it keeps that drive alive in setting goals and achieving them. So you wrote this book, and we're going to bounce around here.
Okay.
So the book you wrote, Lead to Keep, Lead in a Way That Makes Great People Stay. Give us the background on what's behind that book and the message in it.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of teams. I'm 51. So ever since I entered the workforce, I've just paid attention to teams. I was on an athletic state championship team, so that it was a championship level thinking. We went back to back, 2 state championships. So I was around high level coaches who built teams around sports, and then I went to the nonprofit world with teams and saw teams that were poor performing level up, and then I went to the business world, the for profit, and took teams and helped level them up. And so in 3 different fields, genres, angles, I've been on teams, and I'm just fascinated by human dynamics. I'm fascinated on what motivates people. I'm fascinated for myself, coming from the family I came from, not encouraged to go to school, not encouraged, the first one in my family to go to college, those kind of things. Okay, why do some people, why are they successful? Why are they not? Does success leave clues? And do teams that work in cohesion, do they leave clues? And of course they do. There's so many books about it, but I wanted to write mine from a simpler angle. Sometimes the books I have on the back of my shelf are like, 1,000 pages, and a lot of people are not going to read that. So people have told me my book is short, it's practical, tactical, you can use it right now. And that's what I wanted to do, was put a resource into really just take this whole big thing of team challenges, whether they're dysfunctions, they're the common enemies of teams, wrap all it up into just 3 principles. So it's memorable, it's portable, and someone could start to execute it immediately. Because I've been on poor performing teams and I've seen them turn around where lots of people quit. And then within 1 year or 2 years, we were the longest retaining store after being a poor performing store from applying these principles. So to me, it's not ethereal, it's an idea, and it is based in human science, in human motivation, but man, it's practical. You don't have to be super smart to do it. You don't have to read or memorize a 1,000-page book to do it.
Yeah, or get a 4-year degree and spend a ton of money to do it. Now I got to start writing some notes because I came up with 3 squirrel moments and questions. One, and this was a lesson I learned the hard way, and I was well into my 30s and was a sergeant on the police department and a lieutenant. Brought this to my attention. And the long and short of it is, he goes, Pat, there's a fine line between leading by example and doing somebody else's job for them. And because I was a high drive guy, so I was out there shagging calls, I was making arrests, I'm backing people up, and all sorts of stuff. And he goes, you're that classic, you're leading from the front, but you also need to understand you're doing other people's job for them. And you think that's good leadership, and he goes, it's not. It's you're doing somebody else's job. So when you talk about leadership, what's that fine line that you face? Because in teams, a lot of people automatically go to, it's the quarter, because they think sports. So it's the quarterback, it's the pitcher, it's the point guard, it's a position. And then with that position comes responsibility and authority. What is your concept of teamwork and how that structure looks so you don't have really a dictatorship? You have a boss instead of a leader that tells you
Right.
what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and disciplines you when you fail.
Yeah.
So what's your concept?
Yeah.
What do you
Even
use?
even what you just said that your leader told you, and your assumption is, if I'm a servant leader, if we can use that very popular
Yeah.
phrase in Judeo-Christian framework, a servant leader, oh, then I'm going to do all these things, and then what he's told you, but you're doing their job. This is why actually the name of my company is Paradox, because it's not always black or white, left or right. Sometimes it's a paradox solution that you need. And so I would say to you, when some of us try to just adopt well, I'm the boss, I'm going to tell them what to do, or I'm a player's coach, I'm going to play with them, right? We have all these little nuances and names. I would tell you that all of those have their place in a certain season of the leader's race. So in the very beginning, I think it's effective in motivation. It's effective in team cohesion for the leader to take out the trash, to wash the dishes. If we were to use a restaurant or a hotel, venue, but it's a waste of money for him to stay there or she to stay there because you're getting paid too much to just focus on dishes. But if you're not willing to do the dishes, then you can't connect with a dishwasher. And so in my world, it was servant leadership driven, where we actually did every position that anybody we told what to do had did so that we could gain influence, but we would not stay there and do their job, or we would not be believing in them and not empowering them. So I would say a good leader should really grind and do everything in the beginning. And then as they're modeling what it should look like or how it can look like, if you're starting something from nothing or you're taking over a very poor performing team, I think this is a good approach to do everything for a short time. And as you begin to level off and you equip, you develop, you mentor, you multiply, you have to let go. And then you have to let the working genius that there are people that you're doing a job that actually someone on your team is better than you at doing. Are you willing to move away from that? So a framing that we took from the last, corporate job I had, which was Chick-fil-A, was instead of us thinking as a quarterback, we actually started to use this metaphor. We think ourselves as a lineman. And what if you make a hole so that someone else can be a rock star? You might be the rock star the first 3 months because you're the owner. You have the drive, the vision, the passion, you have the knowledge, you have the age, the experience. But let's move into being a lineman. For us would be a servant leadership framework, and go, let somebody else be a running back. Let somebody else catch the ball. Let somebody else break through. And a real great leader makes a lot of gaps and holes for other people to shine. And the thing is, that's counterintuitive. Again, it's a paradox. When you step back, you can level up the team. When you let others win and show their genius, they actually want to stay with you. Everybody's afraid, like, well, if I promote them, they'll just leave. Will they leave? Yes, they will. People will leave. But over time, more people stay with you when they can grow with you. But when they're limited because of a leader's fear, or they got to control or hog the ball, if we want to keep using a metaphor of sports, if the leader's always got to be the star, then you will always have low performers, because only low performers want to stay with that person. But if you'll make a gap or a hole, so that, using a football metaphor, that someone else can run the ball, someone else can, take the pass, man, people want to be on that team because so many people are not developed. It's very attractive. And the stats are in, people leave high paying jobs for crappy bosses. And some people stay at low paying jobs for amazing bosses. Well, what makes the amazing boss? It's someone who believes in you, who will encourage you, but also correct you. But the way they correct you is in private. It's not to shame you. It's not to call you out. It's to call you up. Hey, I believe in you. We don't allow that here. The way you just talked to that client or guest, not acceptable. But I'm just talking to you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking to you. And I know you can level up, and you will, because this is our standard. Please rise up to the standard. When I correct people like that, I always ask them, hey, man, was that pretty hard? Was that pretty different? And they're always like, it was weird, but it's never been done. And I was like, yeah, because the last place you're at, what did they do? They cuss you out, or they just blacklist you. You're not smart enough to go up. So we won't give any time to you. But man, when you take the guts to go, hey, this is wrong, but it's just me and you. And when they do something right, you praise it out loud. Man, people, I've proven it over decades. People want to be on that team. It's so foreign. It's so different. Even if it's a hard job, and even if the pay is not the most, people want to be developed. And all the stats of the new generations that have come, all the titles they give them, millennials and all of this, and
Mm.
Generation X, it's all the same in that they want more development. And so it behooves you financially to invest in the training and the development. But to do that, you would have to do a paradox, which is I go down so that they go up, but actually I will go up with them. Because when all the boats rise, I mean, that whole
Mm.
thing. So,
Yeah. So you got to tell this story that I think epitomizes your philosophy and perspective. Tell the story about the kid you fired and then you run into him at a restaurant, working at a restaurant.
yeah, I love this guy. He's a young kid coming from another country, and actually, his father was my boss. I was his boss, and I didn't know the kid. But when the parent, the guy that I'm working with, the father, has his parent pass away in another country, the boys switched. So the father goes back to the country to take care of the widowed mother, but the son comes here to make money in the States to send back home. So I know the father, and now I know the son. And the son has never been with the father. He doesn't know how to do oil changes. He doesn't know whatever. So I help him with his car, help him with all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with our job. But I like him. I just set that up to say this isn't someone I was trying to just be mean to, because I had a more vested interest in him than maybe other employees, because I knew his family dynamic. But he broke some rules and he came in hungover. And I was like, man, this is not acceptable. You cannot be coming in hungover. Wrote him up, talked to him. You can't do this. Did it again. I was like, hey man, you do this again, I'm going to fire you. He did it again. I fired him. So he leaves. He's young, 20, 21, worked with me about 2 years. I'm at a different location. I'm the same kind of business field, but I'm at another location. 2 years later, he comes and tries to work for me again. And I was like, hey, man, remember we had that problem? I care about you. I care about your dad. I'm so sorry that you're here by yourself and everybody's back home. But, dude, I can't have that problem. No, I have a kid now. I'm much more mature. And so I'm ready to go. I was like, okay. And he was a hard worker. And that's why I was even tempted to think about it, because he works really hard, doesn't call out, doesn't whine, but he has this problem that he'll get inebriated and come in hungover. So, man, about 9 months, 10 months, bam, he doesn't come in and he's hungover. I said, hey, there's no 3 strikes, you're out. There's no 2 strikes, you're out. I've already let you go for this issue. You're out. He's like, this is hard for my family. This is hard for all of that. So he leaves. So a couple of years later goes by, me and a family member, my family are going into another restaurant where it has an open kitchen and we can see him. And I tell my family member, hey, that guy I used to work with. And she's like, oh, that's cool. Is that a great experience? I was like, well, I fired him twice.
Nice.
And she's like, what? Don't let him see you. He's going to spit in our food. It's going to be this horrible experience. And I'm like, no, let's just wait and see what happens. And so we get to the end. Again, I haven't been his boss in 2 years. And remember, I fired him twice. He comes out. He gives me a big old hug. He says, hey, boss, how are you doing? I haven't been his boss a long time. We give him a hug. I catch up with the kids. I take a picture with them, because it wasn't personal. I wasn't emotional, but I have high standards for the organization I was running, and we don't lower the standards for anybody, not family. There's no nepotism. There's no best friends that get a free ride, because that kills team morale. And I'm such a team guy. I want it to be the same experience, because people wonder when they come into shifts or to service industry, oh, what's the manager going to be like today? Is she moody? Is he moody? That's a horrible experience. So we train to be level. Like nobody's perfect, but try to come in every day with the same expectations, the same energy. And so it wasn't personal. And because I had developed in and made what I call in my book more deposits than withdrawals, the relationship wasn't bankrupt, even though he couldn't keep to the standards of our organization. I cannot keep a team member who goes against the core values or the vision. I will let them go. I will give them chances. I will try to retrain them. I'll look and see, did I hire right? Did I train right? We have to look at ourselves first. Look in the mirror first. That's a big deal. Own your leadership is the first thing. Hey, did I communicate to him? Did I train him? And if I've done that, have I made deposits? But then if I've trained them, I've owned my leadership, I've made deposits, then I have to make the tough call. And the tough call is, you don't fit in these organizational values. We will not put up with this behavior, because it'll bring the rest of the team around down, and they'll want to, some people may be tempted to copy him or be like, oh, this doesn't really matter what they say. It's not congruent. So for me, team morale is so huge. And what kills that is sanctioned incompetence or allowing someone to break the rules because you're close to them. So he knew that wasn't going to happen, but we still had a relationship after firing him twice. And I believe you can treat people with such honor, dignity, and respect that even when you fire them, you can still be connected. Now, that doesn't happen for everybody, but I actually have had 3 people thank me after I've demoted them or fired them, because the relationship is pretty strong and they know I'm not emotional. It's not retaliation. It's, I believed in them more than they believed in themselves, and they would not level up to the standard of quality or excellence or integrity that our organization demanded. And so they really are self-selecting out.
So, and I'm picturing, I didn't fire the guy, but I was the one that had to serve him with specs and charges and relieve him of duty and take his gun and badge and all that for an investigation internal affairs had done. And he ended up resigning rather than go through the disciplinary process. And a year later, he came in, and I was a superintendent in patrol operations, and secretary gets me on the phone, intercom. She goes, "Hey, so and so is here. He'd like to come back and talk to you." And I think she was kind of like sweating his
I bet.
Yeah, is this a payback visit or kind of type deal? No, I didn't do the investigation. I didn't fire him, but he was going to be fired based on the specs and charges. And it, by the way, it involved alcohol. And he came in, and I think in hindsight, I think he was probably in a 12-step program and doing really well, and making those amends with people that you may have caught. And he didn't cause me any heartache personally. But he came in to A, apologize, and B, to go, hey, I got out of Dayton. I live in another county. I opened my own business. I've been sober for a year, and things are going well. And I just wanted you to know that I know it wasn't personal, and I just want to thank you, for the way you treated me. And he even said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. And so I get that, but it leads to this dilemma I think a lot of people face, both in their family lives, in their business lives, is, we have the slogans, like the Air Force, when our youngest son graduated from basic and tech school. They were both in San Antonio. Big thing. Aim high, fly, fight, win. And great commercial jingle. And we think that that's all we have to do, particularly in the business world, is or on police departments, protect and serve. We have these jingles, and we think that's enough to inspire or to express what we expect and accept from our employees or even your own kids, kind of deal. When in reality, we are such poor communicators, and in a way to instill that mission and vision in people. And just real quick, I taught at 8 different Air Force bases, security forces, in like 6 or 7 weeks, thousands of Air Force cops. And the Air Force cops were leading the entire Air Force in Article 15s and court martials. And so I was brought in along with some other folks at other bases to try and not cure it, but have an impact on it. And the first thing I did as I went at every base, I walked around all the office space, the squadron space, the locker rooms, everything, and trying to find the mission statement for that squadron. I only found it in one place. At one base, I found the squadron mission in writing, and it was posted on the back of the handicap crapper in the men's locker room.
Wow.
And so when I was training them, and when I was talking to squadron commanders, the lieutenant colonels and senior enlisted and non-commissioned officers, sergeants and all that kind of stuff, my question to them was, how can you expect these young kids that are 18 to 24-year-olds, and that was the age bracket that was getting the most court martials, how can you expect them to abide by and live and work the mission of your squadron when they don't even know what it is? And then I would ask them, not in front of the enlisted rank and file younger ones, go without looking it up somewhere, and I don't know where you would look it up at. You'll pull out a binder that you have. Tell me your mission statement of your squadron, and they don't know it. And then we wonder, why do we have toxic work environments? Why do we have people, retention sucks? It's because we don't communicate what we expect and accept from our folks in the professional arena. So, long ass introduction to this question. How do you communicate and reiterate and reinforce the expectations and the mission and the vision? Because I know you have a personal mission, you have a professional mission, professional vision, and they're written out. I've read them, I've seen them. How do you reinforce that in the workplace?
Yeah, I think, like you said, a lot of companies, you can't find it. And then other companies, especially like when I go into hospitals, it is like 3 paragraphs. No one's ever going to memorize that. No one's ever going to know that. And then most organizations, only if they have it written, even if they have the 3 paragraphs, it's only in the onboarding handbook, and the employee reads it one time if they read that. So we used to make people sign that they read it before their first shift. Again, people can lie, but we would know they read it once. But I never counted on the onboarding experience of signing a handbook or reading a handbook to be it's one and done. That's ridiculous. You'll have to model it. You'll have to illustrate it. And again, as a communicator, right? I'm a speaker. If it's portable, it's memorable. So we got to get it real small. So, and then you got to model it. And sometimes the best way to model it is for me as the leader, this is the most distrust the Western society has ever had in authority. So we trust the government least, we trust the leaders least, we trust owners of companies least than we've ever had that it's ever been measured. Trust is at the lowest. So this has always been good advice, but it's really important right now when trust is at the lowest. I think the best way for me to illustrate what I say, I have these little sayings, these words on the wall, we live them down the hall. Yeah. These aren't just things we say. This is our way. And so I'll give you one of ours. We had one that says 100% responsibility. Take 100% responsibility. Well, again, every company has something like quality or ownership. But again, it's just words on a wall. Tell me what that looks like. And sometimes the quickest way to communicate it is what it doesn't look like. And if the leader goes first, the speed of trust goes through the roof. So I'll give you an example. In a restaurant, I was really getting on the team for wasting money. So sometimes when we have so many machines and they're running from 5:30 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night. I mean, it's 2,000 guests a day. It's an incredible machine of a business. And a machine breaks and someone just calls the appliance guy, right? We have these different people for different things, plumbers, electricians, certain corporate, whatever. And so we were like, hey, this is costing us sometimes $300 a visit, $200 a visit. Like we're spending $5,000 on R&M, repairs and maintenance. Like I've got to get this P&L dialed in as a business leader. Guys, hey, make sure first you unplug it, plug it back in, turn it off, turn it on, see if there's any kind of friction, because we know 25% to 30% of the time, that's it.
Yeah.
And we fix it. We don't got to call the guy. And I said, hey, make sure you go to the breaker after those 3 little steps. So we put this in our training. Well, Mr. Knucklehead, me, the guy who is over pushing them about these finances, I go and I turn it off, I turn it on, I unplug it, I look for any debris or friction. I go to the panel. We have so many panels, like 6 panels of breakers, And so it's a $14 million a year organization. It's a lot of volume. And I go and I look and there's no orange. So I call a guy. The guy comes out, $300. The guy comes out and goes, hey, Knucklehead, why don't you check the breaker? And I said, hey, guy, I checked the breaker. This is how I train my team. I actually did these 3 things before I did that. And he tells me something I don't know, and I'm the freaking GM. Yeah. He says, at 20 amps, it's not going to show orange if it's off. You have to feel it with your hands.
Yeah.
It can be just barely moved. Were you looking for orange? I said, yes, sir. He goes, that's not good if it's 20 amps. You need to put your hand up there and you can feel it. I'm like, duh. So I tell the guys, extreme ownership, right? I preach it. It's on the onboarding. I correct them. Hey, you guys are costing me $6,000 a month in R&M. This is ridiculous, whatever. So I'm that dork. So again, going to my first principle in the book, ownership. You got to own your leadership. So I put myself on blast on this. We use the Group Me app. And so everybody in kitchen, I said, hey, you remember how I trained you? Do these 3, then check the breaker. Well, hey, here's something I didn't know. I just wasted $300 and also copied my owner on it so they could see that I'm telling on myself to my boss. And I said, hey, I just learned something. You're not going to see orange at 20 amps. You got to go and feel it and flip it back because it was just a breaker. I'm a hypocrite. I'm sorry for getting so mad at you. I did it today, blah, blah, blah. And what I ask leaders is, what do you think that team thinks about my little rules after that,
Yeah.
There's going to be some buy-in because they get to weigh in and see, oh, he's not a hypocrite. He makes mistakes. He's a dork. He talks too fast. He's a country guy, whatever. He's got some slang from the South, but at least he's real. Jesse has got a lot of problems, but at least he's real. And I tell you, there is no perfect leaders, so people aren't looking for those, but they are looking for a real leader. Will you own your crap? And if I want to tell someone what does 100% responsibility look like, I would then go to that story all the time. And I would use that story all the time. Not, hey, look at me, I'm the leader. I know how to do 100%. I say, no, this is how I don't do it. And, hey, don't do that. Man, that is memorable. It's portable. And it puts some handlebars to this little word on the wall. Take 100% responsibility. They didn't see me blame shift, deny, lie, or hide. And I'm saying, hey, follow me as I follow these words on the wall. It's not just what we say. It is our way.
Yeah. Big squirrel moment. Sun Tzu in The Art of War. 4 things. The way, the terrain, the weather, and leadership to recognize the first 3 and execute them. And then he goes in and talks about what each one of those things mean. And I studied Sun Tzu, not formally. I'm not a veteran, wasn't in the military, and all the military branches all study Sun Tzu. But I started studying Sun Tzu and came to the conclusion, well, those 4 things translate into, this is the modern English way of, English as in language, this is the Western civilization way of looking at those 4 things. And I actually, these were written out, laminated, and put on my office door do the right thing at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons. Those four things.
That's
And
good.
that's what I expect and accept out of myself and out of everybody that I worked with or worked for me. But here was the fascinating thing that I did not realize until I started seeing it in action. When I was a lieutenant and a sergeant would come to me and go, hey boss, I got this issue with the rookie police officer. It's on probation, in whatever it is, and but those four things, they then became, because I had that lieutenant teach me that don't do somebody else's job for them. That's not leadership. So those four memorable, portable, executable things, those expectations, it's actually on the back of my challenge coin, my company challenge coin today. Is they would bring that issue to me, and I would go, well, what's the right thing to do? And get them thinking.
That's
and then
training. That's awesome.
But then once you do that, you're reinforcing the values, the mission, the vision,
right.
and they are, like you say, short, memorable, executable. Is and then if they go, well, I'm not sure. My next question, I'm not going to give you the answer.
Yes.
It's not they're your troop that you're responsible for. Then I'm going to go, why don't you know the answer? Because then it may be because, well, we don't have a policy that tells me, or I haven't had the training. So we're having these trust building opportunities.
Yes.
But then what I finally realized after doing this for about a year is, you know what? They're coming in less and less and asking me or telling me they have this problem. And so individually I'd start talking to them and go, hey, you got a new set of rookies and you haven't come with any issues. And they go, well, I asked myself those four questions first, and then if I can answer them myself, I don't need to come to you.
That's right.
Or maybe I'll come to you and go, hey, this is what I think I should be doing. Could you give me some feedback?
Yes.
And that's how you build that culture of trust and success, and then you celebrate it.
Okay, now I'm having a squirrel moment. I got 3 things I want to say about that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So we would teach. So again, how do you get these words off the wall and down the hall? How do they become something that is the way and not just something you say? So a kid came to me one day. He's like, hey, the coffee timed out and a guest just ordered coffee. What do I do? And so in our training is, unlike other restaurants, at 1 hour, we trash it. So we at 1 hour, an alarm goes off. So that's why he's worried. I got to trash it, but they want it. Well, the brew will take 5 minutes. So again, I could have fed him the answer, but then I'd always be doing that, like you've already demonstrated. Yeah. So we're in a training culture, an equipping culture, and an empowering culture. And practically, you just don't want 100 people asking you all the time, hey, Jesse. So we want to empower them to think. So our vision at that time, under that leadership that I was serving, was world class. To be world class was the vision. To be WC, even that again, portable. To be WC. So the kid comes up to me and I go, man, I could tell him real fast. There's a couple solutions, but 2 things I learned in this. So I go, I don't know, bro. What's world class? And he goes, well, I could say, hey, I'll give it to them now, and it's 1 minute old, past our quality standard, or they could wait 5 minutes for a fresh pot. And I was like, I don't even teach that. I don't even train that. And I told him, he's 16 years old. And I said, bro, that is a great answer. I'm going to put that in the training. So I'm teaching him the vision by asking a question, and he gave me a better answer, the leader trainer, than I had ever come up with. Yes, give the guests choices. Choices are way better than, well, I'll serve it to them and not tell them it's old and just hope they don't notice, which they wouldn't because most restaurants do it for 2 hours, 3 hours. Or, hey, it's going to take 5 minutes. He gave them a choice. I said, man, that's genius. Yeah. So I got to encourage him. I got to equip, level up the training, but I did it through the open-ended question, which, Jesus asked over 336 questions, some people say. And And, we know the Socrates, some people call it the Socratic method, but
Yeah.
if you want to train by that, now he won't ask that question again. Not only did he get empowered and encouraged, I gave him a good answer, but he came up with a better answer. So I do really believe that team mantra that none of us is as smart as all of us. And so if I want to see the genius of the team rise, because I'm in this place for a long time, I'm looking with the same set of eyes. A new person actually has gold because they have fresh eyes. Now, not every idea you should empower because they don't know how much stuff costs and they are whatever. But man, they've got a perspective that is worth a lot of money because they're brand new. And so we ask questions like, hey, what's confusing about our training? Hey, what's confusing about our onboarding? What did we not answer for you that really frustrated you so that next time I can level up? That was one thing I wanted to say. The other thing was we don't have hope as a strategy. So I don't hope those words are going to jump off the wall. I believe I'm a CRO. I'm a chief reminding officer of vision. So how do I do that? Besides giving a question or besides humbling myself and telling the team when I screw up, which I think endears a team to a leader, at least I am endeared to leaders who are very real. The other thing I would do is I would incentivize. Literally, these are dumb little things that don't cost very much money, but they are nuanced. They are unique. They are creative. So I would have a bunch of dollar bills in my pants all the time. And I would go up to a kid and I would go, what's our vision? And they would say, to be world class. I give them $1. And three things are happening. I'm reinforcing. I'm learning. Did he get it from orientation? And other people are watching me. And I do it live on a shift. I don't sit down. This is like a 10-second test. Hey, what's our core values? Okay, guys, $2. Hey, what's our philosophy? And that's a long one. It's like a big paragraph. Oh my gosh, that's $3. Hey, what's the 4 priorities of front counter? This is like what they know to do when they don't have to ask a leader. We have a routine that they cycle through. They cycle through because it's a great training mechanism. Another $1. And these kids go, why is he giving him $5? Why is he giving him $6? Jesse's weird. What's he doing? And they would be like, oh, remember, he's that guy that goes around and asks you about the vision, mission, values. Dude, do you know those? Then what starts happening? They start feeling pressure and they start now I don't have time to test 50 people, but once a week at least, I do that little game in the AM and the PM at different shifts so people would know, oh, that's that thing Jesse does. What am I doing? What gets rewarded gets repeated. And it's nuanced, it's weird, it's fun, it's unique. And I would obviously go to kids who would get 0. And I'd be like, whoa, dude, how long have you been here? Did I fail? And I would ask them straight up, did I fail you to cover this in orientation? No, you covered it. I'm going to school. I'm in track. I'm doing this. I'm getting married. I got a kid. Okay, well, hey, listen, these aren't just words on the wall. They're a big deal. So more than missing out on them $5 or $6, or sometimes I give them a gift card to free shakes or whatever, I would say more important than that, this is just a way I get to stick a thermometer in the team and go, what's the culture like today? Do people know why we do what we do? But the greater reward is not just the individual and not just for me to learn, but the team is always watching that and it reinforces. So I would say I'm the CRO. I'm the chief reminding officer because vision leaks and I'm going to go and inject it and boost it up with these little bitty tactics and practice.
All right. This is going to sound like it's coming like, all right, Pat, how did you make this conclusion and I even wrote it down, is what you're sharing in the 21st century is scripturally based sounding from 2,000 years ago. And here's what I wrote down. Jesus asked the disciples that were with him, later the apostles, who do you say I am? And he asked an open-ended question. And he gets all these different, or who do people say I am? And he gets all these different answers. And then he goes, who do you say I am? And Peter speaks up. And at that time, he wasn't called Peter. And he was Simon. And he makes his profession of faith. And so here's what you're sharing. Here's the logic. Here's my next leap, which I wrote down. Peter and the other apostles believed it and moved onward. They were growing. They were whatever. And even when they failed, when Peter denies Christ 3 times, he didn't quit because he had that experience of, I believe what I said, and I believe what Christ has told me, and the values and the eternity and all that is exactly what you're saying of off the wall and down the hall, or is that when you're doing the way you're doing your follow up, they believe what you have taught them. They're repeating those beliefs. They're moving forward. Maybe that kid becomes, a shift leader or, a manager or whatever. And even though they're going to screw up like you did, you're the big boy, and you blew it on a $300 maintenance call. You didn't beat yourself up. You didn't quit. You bought it because you have that foundation of what I believe is true, and pardon the expression, the shit works, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so that's a modern day way of looking back even at scripture to go, oh man. And you and I both know John Maxwell. His 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, every single one of them is based in scripture. And he was a small town little pastor, and I think in Indiana, maybe.
Birmingham, Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, before he got into being a leadership guru, but never once does he preach at people about X, Y, or Z. The Bible says this or whatever. I don't have to tell you the Bible says it. It is an irrefutable law of reciprocity. The law of the lid and all these things, and he shares the human examples like the Vince Lombardi. Nobody that coached directly under Vince Lombardi ever became a head coach themselves. Other people, that came through the Green Bay Packers after Lombardi was long gone, became head coaches. But nobody that ever was directly an assistant coach under Lombardi, coached their own team in the future, became a head coach. And the realization was because Lombardi's philosophy, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. And then, but if you look at, there's 4 other coaches, Marty Schottenheimer, Bill Walsh, 2 other head coaches. Between those 4 guys, there's over 60 future head coaches in that family tree, because they coached directly these 6 guys, and he coached them to be coaches themselves, not to be followers. And then they became head coaches, and then they had, and you go down the list, and I think the journey and story you're sharing is so doable, and everybody's going to go, well, yeah, that's everybody knows Chick-fil-A has the highest standards. I even asked this. I asked the bartender in Davie, Florida last week. I was teaching down there, and I was grabbing dinner at a bar by the hotel, and I asked for something, and then when she brought whatever it was, an extra napkin or something, and I said thank you, and she goes, it's my pleasure. I go, did you work at Chick-fil-A? And she goes, what? I go, oh yeah, that's a Chick-fil-A saying, my pleasure. But it makes that standard up there, and a lot of people go, yeah, but, and so can you talk a little bit about, and we'll kind of wrap up here. Is how do you address even for yourself or for people that work for you, or even your own kids, limiting beliefs when you go, no, man, I know you got the talent. This is what you're thinking. You got the talent, you got the opportunities, but you can't say that because they're like, oh no, I don't. How do how do you get people to get past those limiting beliefs?
Yeah, great question. Again, going back to the Judeo-Christian ethic, and I have heard John Maxwell say, "Hey, I'm not teaching anything new in the sun. It's all the scripture." I'm not teaching anything new. I don't think I have anything new. I am also just copying 2,000 years ago. But I'm telling you, it's not practiced. If I was to hone in on to answer your question through the previous what you brought about Jesus, because I am a believer, in John chapter 1, it says he came in grace and truth 2 times. It says that. To me, that is the magic of leadership. It's amazing. People tend to go to a boss who's brutal and abrasive, and abrasive is not persuasive. And then other people go to a boss who wants everybody to like them and they want to be friends. And it might be easy to work there, but they're not making much money or they're not winning with profit. So again, Chick-fil-A is pretty good at results and relationships. Well, lots of other companies are too. Whether it's it's Buc-ee's or it's a Ritz-Carlton, or you can name a lot of other companies
Yeah.
that have not necessarily any Judeo-Christian motivation, but they do a high result and high relationship focus. And so in my book, I dedicate my book to my coach. My coach is the first person I ever met who had that leadership. So I'm one of 3 Jessies. My grandfather was in World War II, and he was abrasive. And in the town, he didn't have much influence. And I went to eat with him, and I went to buy cars with him, and nobody liked him. He's a tough old son of gun. My dad did not like conflict. He was super passive. And so I remember as a kid going, I don't want to be like my grandpa. Nobody likes him, and he's rude, and he's demanding. He's very confident, but he's demanding. I don't want to be like my dad. He's not confident, and he's weak, and we get run over in business deals. Man, there's got to be another way. And so I wanted to be a third way, a third Jesse. Well, I meet my coach. I'm a cross-country runner. I'm pretty good. And he's like, hey, here's the deal, Mr. Rockstar, coming in your little black Camaro, late to practice, late to the race. You see these tail lights next time, and you're going to get left behind. I will not put you on that bus if you're late. We will take off without you. This is before cell phones. There's no GPS. And I'm in this little bitty town in Oklahoma, and the race is an hour and a half away, which back then I hadn't even left the state. So that's a long way
Yeah.
without any parents driving me. I'm 16 years old. I pull up in the parking lot late. I see the taillights. I start honking. He takes off in the bus. And I think I'm pretty smart. I'm going to chase him in my little hot rod for an hour and a half to the big city race. I get there. He is mad. He will not talk to me. And I'm like getting suited up. And he's like, you're not running? I told you. You see the taillights. We don't need you. If you can't be here, you're not better than everybody else just because you're on varsity. Well, I had seen people be rude. I had seen coaches, hit football players in the helmet. So I'd seen the abrasive, but he wasn't that attitude at practice. He was very nice, very kind. And yet he had the standard and he wouldn't move it for me. But that same guy let me stay at his house when I had family problems, play ping pong till late in the night. And he would school me on ping pong. He would beat me. He was 30 years. He still can beat me. And he's in my life today. He lives a couple hours away from here. And, he's 85 and I'm connected to him. He fed me. He believed in me. He loved me, but he held the standard. And I had never met a truth and grace leader like that. And of course, my respect was so high for him. He didn't put me down, but he called me up. And so I was like, man, I'm going to be like this. And that became my journey to be like, he's a state champion. He's nice, but he holds the standard high and he will not lower it for any of the team members. But yet, when you're not in that environment of racing, he's encouraging you. He's feeding you. You're having fun. You're laughing. He's beating you at ping pong. And so I thought, man, if this works in the sports world for championship team, I wonder if it works in the nonprofit world. It does. I did that for 15 years. Then I wonder if it works in the restaurant. It does. And so I am motivated to be a truth and grace leader, which is Jesus' style, if you will. Like Peter, you mentioned, he says, hey, you're a rock. Well, he wasn't really a rock. I mean, he wasn't acting like a rock. He had his foot in his mouth, but Jesus believed in him. And then he says, hey, son, hey, Satan, get behind me, when he doesn't want him to go to the cross. And then later he says, hey, I'm going to restore you. You're going to be awesome. And so even Jesus makes more deposits than withdrawals, but he does both truth and grace, and he calls people up. So to me, it's old, it's as ancient as Jesus, but people do not practice this style of leadership. It is so foreign when I ask team members, like, what's it like to be here? They're like, it's weird. There's a lot of encouragement and there's a lot of correction, but I've never been so respected when someone pulls me aside and corrects me and they whisper, hey, we don't do that here. What you just did is a mistake. Da, da, da. They don't even get that in their own family. And so they'll be like, I'm here. I'm on this team. I want to be on this team.
Yeah.
And so that's my mission, is to get leaders to own their leadership, make more deposits and withdrawals, but yet make the tough call, because it's what helps grow people. That's what grew me. And so I want to help other leaders grow their teams by loving them enough to tell them the truth and help them level up.
Yeah. Oh, man. Great we could go for hours. This is so encouraging and inspiring. How can people reach out to you, Jesse, to learn more, get your book? What's the best way?
Yeah, so on the books on Amazon, Lead to Keep, and so go to Amazon and like a lot of people buy books. There's a paperback, there's a hardback, there's a Kindle that's really cheap, it's $5. The audio book is still not out yet, so it's in process. And then my website, paradoxsolutions.net. You can watch a free course there on how to have a private routine, how to have a growth mindset. So there's some offerings on there, but those are the two main ways: is the website, paradoxsolutions.net, and you can find the book on Amazon, Lead to Keep.
Awesome. Jesse, man, thank you so much. You're an awesome guest, man. And
Thank you, Pat.
So glad that we met at your TEDx. And that's the other thing, TEDx. So you're on YouTube, or go to TEDx.com.
The video, it was supposed to be out a month ago, and they just told all of us Xers that the edited version with the roll in from TED, the little water drop and all that, is not going to be out to the middle of August. And then sometimes you have to wait 6 months for it to be on the international site. But the local TED site, it should be live in 2 weeks.
And that's the TEDx Manitou Springs?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me, Pat.
Yeah, man. Absolute blast. So thank you. To our audience, thank you for being loyal listeners. Because of you, we are downloaded now in 75 countries and Hong Kong. And it's just all because of you. So keep listening, downloading, liking, commenting, sharing our episodes with someone you know needs to hear today's message. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. If you want, Substack, at Pat Welsh JD. Will get you basically to everything. The Warrior Servant Leader Podcast.com is our website. Subscribe for free if you're on LinkedIn, Pat Welsh JD on LinkedIn. We have a free Warrior Servant Leader newsletter there, and you'll find even more information and deeper dives into some of our conversations. So until next week, I love you all, and remember, always, always, always strive to do the right thing at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons, because that's what warriors, servants, and leaders do every day, every time. Till next week, be safe, and see you next week.